In this video, we're chatting about the 8 things I hate or dislike about my 2006 R1200GS Adventure. Now, before we get started, this is an awesome bike. I love the bike. There's way more things that I love about the bike that I don't like. I had to think hard to come up with a list, but the list got quite long because there are a few things. None of them are serious, bar 1 or 2, which you can fix. Anyways, these are the 8 things that I dislike about the R1200GS Adventure. So the first thing is the clunky gear shift at low speeds. So if you put it into first gear, or if you go from first to second or even to third riding slowly at 20-25 miles per hour, it's very clunky. And a lot of people complain about this. It's very tractor-like. It's not an issue. These transmissions and engines are super durable, but it's not smooth. But once you get going and you're in the RPM, higher in the RPM range, it smooths out, and you can shift super smoothly. But it's just at slow speeds, it's very clunky and it feels like something's wrong. It's not. The second thing I dislike about the R1200GS is probably the most serious issue, is the standard suspension is not great off-road. It's okay, but if you're heavily laden or you have got a passenger on the back, or even if you're riding on your own and you go over jumps, it can bottom out very quickly. And I've bottomed out on even small little speed bumps in parking lots, dirt roads, where you just go a little bit faster than what you normally would, and I hit the skid plate. So the suspension is quite soft, but you can replace it, but it's very expensive if you want to put on a like proper aftermarket adjustable suspension. But if you just put stiffer springs, and that's probably what I'll do. Then the third thing I dislike about the R1200GS Adventure or GS is the fact that it's got a dry clutch. Now in some respects it's great because it lasts forever. I mean, this one's got 80,000 kilometers, 50,000 miles on, and the clutch is still original. And it feels fine, and I've heard of people doing way over 100,000 kilometers with the original clutch. The problem is the clutch doesn't like you feathering it with the revs quite high. Like for instance, I know the police training in the US, they say 4,000 RPMs and then slip your clutch. Now this clutch would not like it, and you'll start smelling it even if you keep the RPMs at 2,000 and you feather the clutch like slow speed maneuvers. It doesn't like it at all. You have to do it without the clutch or low revs, like almost zero, like idling revs. So at least the dry clutch warns you that it's going out, because you can smell it very quickly. I was in a training course a couple of weeks back, and you could smell my clutch in the low speed work and not the wet clutches, but they would still also go out. They'll just not warn you. But with a wet clutch you can be more aggressive on it, and it's much easier to change than a dry clutch, but it'll probably be more frequent. Then the fourth thing that I dislike specifically about the 2005 and 6 GS Adventures, or the older GSs, or even the older BMWs, and these big boxer ones with the servo ABS. That's the integral ABS with the servo motor. Those things can stop working, and then you don't have any brakes, or you've got 5 or 10% brakes left. That's what people say. Mine was still working, but I removed the whole pump. It's like a 5 or 10 pound, that's the weight pump. I removed the whole system, so I've got direct brakes from the levers to straight to the calipers. No ABS. My ABS switch also stopped working. So the older ABS, and especially if you want to go off-road and you want to switch it off, it's not great. From 2007 onwards, it was better. Then number 5 of the things I dislike about the older R1200GSs is it uses a fuel strip for the fuel gauge. And that thing stops working. I think this one stopped working at 9,000 kilometers when I plugged in my GS 911 scan tool. You could see the first fault code was at 9,000 kilometers. So they are prone to stop working. You can replace them, but even the replacements stop working. So the best fix is to get a float from the later models. And you can use the GS 911 scan tool to program the bike to think it's got a float, or to tell it it's got a float. Anyways, I just ride, I just fill it up. It's got 33 liters, so you can go forever, but you can easily forget if you are just riding around home, small distances every day, not keeping track of it. So anyway, so that's number 5. Number 6 of the things I dislike about the R1200GS and the Adventure is the pipes are very exposed at the bottom. The skid plate is worthless. I've hit a rock and it wasn't even, I was going slowly, I thought I'll make it, and I just hit the rock and I dinged the exhaust pipe. I still have to fix that, but the stock skid plate is crap, so I'll have one made by a friend of mine that does CNC cutting and welding. So that is definitely something you want to fix before you go on rocky roads off-road. And then so that was number 6. Number 7 of the things I dislike about the R1200GS Adventure, the older models, I think it changed when they went to liquid cooling, but the older ones, the stock crash bars do not protect your valve covers. When you drop the bike, the first thing it'll touch will be your valve covers, not the crash bars. So they are worthless. So that's why I put on these Rockfox Adventure System crash bars, and they are pretty awesome. I know the newer model Adventures also come with more protective crash bars. So definitely something you want to replace as soon as possible. And then the final thing, the 8th thing that I dislike about all of the BMWs is the coded key. Now it's a good thing if your bike gets stolen, there's no way to duplicate the key without the registration documents. You have to go to the dealer, prove that it's your bike. The problem is I don't have a spare key. I live 300 kilometers from the nearest BMW dealership, and you have to go in twice. You have to take in the bike, prove that it's yours, and then they order the key. When it arrives, you have to go back there and they have to program the key, and there's no other way to get a spare key, which is a good thing, but also a big hassle if you don't have a spare key. Anyways, those are the 8 things I dislike about the R1200GS Adventure. Like you can see, none of them are serious. All of them are fixable very easily. These are awesome bikes. Go check out my video on the 5 or 6 or 7 or whatever, how many things I like about the GS Adventure or GS's. I will make one on the GS Adventure and my bike after riding it for a couple of months. Thank you for joining. Pop in the comments anything that I missed, and I'll see you next time. Cheerio!